it's MC Devi here. You are listening to the Bayat Beat podcast, exposing the truth as we see it. This is the podcast where a son, a mother of one, and a grandmother of three open up each other's eyes to the matrix, look at the modern day world from the perspective of three different generations, follow, laugh, and brilliantly analyze the tragic comedy we know as the human experience. Music you are listening to is by my late and great grandfather Sadoun El Bayati. May he rest in peace. Yo, 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 yo! MC Devi in the house. I'm joined by my two lovely co-hosts, the Reverend Summer El Bayati and the matriarch Barbara El Bayati.
Hello.
What's up?
What's up?
What's up? Today's topic, the art of letting go.
Yeah. Tough one.
Yeah, that's a tough one. I feel like it's really trendy though. Like everybody talks about it.
Yeah.
And nobody's good at it.
Right.
Except me.
Then tell us all about it, MC Debbie.
Well, I think it's something, for me, it was something that I was born with. I was just able to let things go, really easily. But for other people, it's really hard. Like, really hard. And I'm like, dude, why are you getting yourself up in a bunch, you know? Like, it really doesn't matter when you think about it.
Right.
And I have my little motto that we just figured out today where it came from. Apparently it's from the Bible, even though I'm not Christian or anything. I don't know where I heard it, but it's be in this world, not of it. Which can mean a lot for different people.
Or is it the opposite? I don't know. Or
be in the right? Be in this world, not of it. Yeah. It's my motto. I know.
All right.
Yeah, but it's basically like you're living in the world, but
you're not participating in the drama.
Yeah, it's not really your world. So why should you? It is your world. I don't know how to explain it. It really, whatever resonates with you, then that's what it means.
But I do look at it as though it is this idea of don't participate in the drama. Just because everybody, I still do. I kind of imagine you are in the center of a tornado and you watch everybody sort of spinning around you, metaphorically speaking. I remember one time I was traveling to Europe and I went to the airport at LAX and our flight was delayed by many hours. So I left LAX and I went out to dinner and I came back. And when I came back, the flight was still delayed. And this was like maybe 4 hours later, which meant we were going to arrive at Heathrow in the middle of the night, like probably 1:30 in the morning or 2 in the morning, something like that. And I decided I was going to just watch all the people getting so upset and not participate in that energy, right? So I put on my headphones and I listened to music and I just sat there trying to be as calm as possible while I saw everybody yelling at the flight attendants and this and that, all the people that work there, people getting into fights, families getting into fights, and, all the drama. And I thought of myself as being in the center of the tornado, which is probably the calmest area of a tornado.
The eye of the storm.
Yeah, and I watched everybody just spinning out of control. And I thought, this is the way to be. And that's what I think of when I think of your motto, right?
Yeah. It's kind of, letting go is also the art of kind of being detached
Mm-hmm.
which I think is good if you know how to be detached. Because there's some people that are just, psychopaths. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about being detached is a sort of confidence. You know what I mean? If
Mm-hmm.
you're attached to all sorts of things and people, then there's not a true confidence within you. But if you're just like, I don't need that, I don't need that person, I don't need this, and you're just kind of detached from everything, you can really be yourself.
So, what are we letting go of? Things, people, situations, anxiety,
Everything,
Anger.
I
anger,
think.
Mm-hmm.
Just the art of letting
relationships.
go. You
Mm-hmm.
know, you got your minimalists who just let go of everything. You got your preachers who say, let it go, because there's nothing to worry about. There's all sorts of aspects of stuff.
Letting go. Yes.
You,
Well, you mentioned the minimalist movement and this whole idea of if we're holding on to things, right? Then, or what did you say? Attachment.
yeah,
Okay, so if we're attached to all these things and even people, if we're attached to people, as you alluded to, and situations, we don't allow for sort of. I think of it as sort of a rebirth, so to speak, right? That you don't allow to create something new with your life, and so a part of the minimalist movement is really being able to let go of physical things, right? I mean that, but that in turn gives you the ability to let go in a spiritual form,
yeah,
right? In a psychological form, because you no longer have all these things that are sort of reminding you of this, reminding you of that, all of this, or making you feel like you can't move forward with any sort of plan in your life because all of your things are sort of holding you back. You have to worry about, oh, can I move into a smaller place when I have so many things? Oh, can I, like the
yeah.
movement, the minimalist movement being connected to the van life, the RVers, all these people that are leaving homes and apartments and going and living on the road, right? You can't if you have a lot of stuff.
Well, the
So,
idea is, that I think you're talking about is being attached brings all sorts of anxiety.
mm-hmm.
And so when you are not attached to things and situations and people, you don't have all this anxiety on your shoulders. And
Mm-hmm.
so when somebody like Alan Watts, for example, talks about how to not be anxious, he talks about just let the shit go, buddy.
And that's why when you totally redid your room at our old house, I said it was very zen. There's
Mm-hmm.
it comes out of that zen concept.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you still have a tendency to your room is still pretty zen.
Yeah, I try to minimize the things and put them in the closet because I don't like a lot of things.
Clutter.
Yeah. If it's weapons, though, I love looking at weapons. I'll put weapons up. I need more weapons.
I want that samurai sword on the wall so I can look at
on
it.
the wall.
I was listening to a TED talk for the second time of the guys. I forgot their names, but they're from the minimalist.com, and they were talking about but there was something that you said that reminded me of something that they said regarding minimalism, and it, they were they were referring to the idea of being able to um, sort of understand that if you are not participating in more of a minimalist life, you were creating more waste, right? Because it's more of consumption. And I know last we talked about consumerism, right? So it's participating in more of a consumption lifestyle. And so it's interesting to see that there's sort of this link to that being able to let go of things creates less waste in your life and less consumption as well.
But I feel very strongly that you need to be the person who decides what things to let go of.
True. One of those young men said that he challenged himself to let go of one item every day for 30 days. Now, I haven't tried this yet. I've let go of clothing and things like that. And when we had to minimize because we were moving from a larger home to a smaller home, I was able to do that. But I've never taken that challenge of the 30 days. And I kind of got a little excited and thought, oh, I should revisit that and maybe try that. Get rid of some more stuff, my stuff.
And as you realize, we got rid of many, many, many things from the old home. But then we had 24 hours notice of the close of escrow to move. So deciding what to get rid of and what to keep at that point was not possible.
Yeah, makes it difficult.
So now we have things in storage, and we have to go through those and pick and choose what we want to keep. I say this because I have been pressured to just let go of everything.
Yes, let it go.
Just let it go.
You don't see it? It doesn't exist.
There are some things that I want. So
yeah,
of course.
Well, of course.
Now,
anyway,
I am more interested in letting go of anxiety.
I think that's more important.
Bad thoughts.
Right.
Yeah.
That is way more
Hatred.
important.
I'm not willing to let go of love.
Oh.
I do not. That's the difficult part about wanting to be detached. Love is an attachment I prefer to keep and maintain and have it grow.
Well, love is also about overcoming fear. So some people are afraid to love or participate in love. So, I mean, you have to let go of fear and take a chance and a leap of faith in order to participate in loving others, right? So that's
true.
a letting go in a way.
Well, you're letting go of fear, but I'm not willing to let go of love and relationships.
Well, I wrote an essay on this, and it was belief versus faith. And faith was letting go, whereas belief is you're attached to something, an ideology. So when you're loving someone, don't you have faith in that person? So aren't you letting go?
Good point.
That's kind of too deep for me.
But no, but that's a good point, because that's if it's really true love. I mean, I think a lot of people participate in what they think is love.
It's not.
But it's attachment, and they get jealous if that you know, I want you all to myself, or you know,
that's not real love. That's
right.
You're mine.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's more possessive. But for two people to maybe truly experience love within a relationship, it will be less possessive and more of mutual respect. And I'm supporting you so that you can achieve all of your dreams, and you support me to achieve all my dreams, and we co-create happiness, right?
That's very good. Good point.
But you have to let go of that sort of attachment, feeling attached to them to get there, I think. right? Or that fear that they're going to leave me or something like that. Whether it be romantic love or familial love or filial love, brotherly or what have you.
Yeah, I think definitely I'm like not a very jealous person when it comes to, you know, somebody else. You know what I mean?
Romantic love, you mean?
Yeah. I don't really care. Cuz I'm very confident in my own self.
Yes.
And I think that's very important. You just got to let go of yourself in a sense, and then by letting go of yourself, you're sort of letting go of everything else, which is really interesting and a hard thing to grasp, because if you let go of yourself, aren't you just not caring about what happens to you? And that's not necessarily it. You're detaching from what you are and what you are expected to be, and you just living life. And that's very important.
I think your grandfather and I modeled very well the art of loving and not giving up ourselves altogether.
Well, and we also grew up in a Muslim household. So that's very different from Western society and the struggles of the West. I was watching, we saw the fight last night,
Yes.
Khabib versus Dustin, and I was watching today his Anatomy of a Fighter. Will Harris, I think it was, went to Dagestan where he grew up, and you got to see Islamic culture, and it's very much family oriented, of course.
And that's mixed martial arts, right?
Yeah, UFC, MMA, mixed martial arts.
And where's Dagestan?
It's in Russia. It's a province.
But it's in the Caucasus, I think.
Yeah. And so, yeah, what you were saying is just, it's modeled well in a lot of Eastern lifestyles, and somehow here in the West, I think we rush too much towards industrialization, and we kind of got to a point where it's like we don't want to lose it, you know?
We have all these things.
And there's also this ideology that America's the best and everybody else is somewhat lacking. So everybody needs to they latch on to that best. We don't want to lose our best, make America great again. It's like, what do you mean? Right? People here are so afraid of losing what the nation is, and and what Western society is, but in reality there is no, it's humanity,
Right, and it's a
and
young
culture.
nation. It's a young nation,
Yeah, it's young.
filled with many cultures and democratic ideals. And so that in and of itself makes it great. Can we do better by our people? Yeah. Heck yeah, we can. I mean, we have a lot that we need to transform in this country to make it better.
Well, I was thinking about this for the last few days. Because letting go, for example, of anxiety, if you're in a difficult situation financially, you can say, well, I'm going to let go of material things, and I'm going to, trust that everything will come out all right. But you have to have medical coverage.
Right.
That's something that you really may not be able to afford to let go of.
Right.
That anxiety about maintaining medical coverage, especially if you've had any kind of pre-existing condition, or if you're elderly.
Yes.
All elderly people that I know have some sort of pre-existing medical condition. So what would happen to us if we were down and out, poverty-stricken and had no medical coverage.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Because the longer you live, the more apt you are to get something.
And we like living.
Exactly.
We like living long lives, as healthy as possible.
Right. And we should have health care for everyone. And that is connected to sort of injustices, right? We're constantly people that may not agree with those who believe that, some issue is an injustice, may say, oh, just let it go. Just let it go. But you can't. And when it comes to injustices, you can't let it go.
Yeah.
Right? You have to keep plugging away until we transform our society and create justice for all. Because that's what I think the founding fathers and mothers and humans of this country, the ideals were founded upon, that we truly are supposed to be equal, right? And equality means justice.
So you can't let go of concern for the welfare of fellow human beings.
Exactly.
But I think that perspective of letting go is not as deep.
Say more.
I don't know how to put this, but letting go is it's an art form, and it doesn't mean giving up fighting for human rights, for example.
Mm-hmm.
It just means that whatever happens and whatever the outcome is, it'll be okay. You know what I mean?
Letting go of the outcome.
Letting go of the outcome.
Participating in the process.
But also realizing that you'll still be around. And even if you do die, or, death is the absence of living, so you won't know. You know what I mean? It's just like that, and living is the absence of death, so what do you have to be afraid of? You know what I mean?
Unless you believe that you live lifetimes upon lifetimes.
But you are still absent from life.
I think you've made an important distinction that we all need to understand. And that is that you still have to keep fighting for what is right. And so letting go doesn't mean the absence of caring altogether. I've heard some people talk about letting go and not, I think, making that point, which I believe is very important.
Yeah. Letting go is sort of a destruction of the ego, in a sense. You're letting go of people's judgment. You're letting go of the anxieties you have on yourself and the shame, and you're making the action to change it. But you're not letting the past dictate what you are now and what you are in the future, which is a very Buddhist concept.
And the Buddhists would say you're making causes. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
You're making causes.
Yes.
You're not giving up. Letting go does not mean giving up.
No. No. It's, yeah.
But when you think in terms of anxiety, right? There are many teachings out there that, and they're taught in many forms, and they may or may not link it to Buddhism. But I'm thinking of the Zen Buddhist leader Thich Nhat Hanh, who talks about the idea of when you something comes up, right? Feelings, memories, something, right? When you're sitting in meditation, you're supposed to, push those aside, right? And that's an act of letting go so that you can be more present to yourself. So whenever you are feeling anxiety, you can instantaneously get rid of those feelings of anxiety. Others may say when you get the feelings of anxiety, you just sort of sit with them and feel them, and then they will pass. They will move, right? I remember Tony Robbins, who's a life coach, pretty famous life coach. He mentioned when you were feeling anxiety to start moving like physically. So he suggests like get outside and go running or walking really fast or do something that gets the fear that you're experiencing, because anxiety is linked to fear, right? That fear, you are tackling it with adrenaline, right? And then that gets rid of it and it dissipates. And I've always thought that's a really great point.
I have many friends who would say, dance.
Dance. Mm-hmm.
Start dancing when you feel anxious?
Yes.
Hmm.
Dancing has a very positive effect on the body and on the mind.
Especially if it's reggae.
Jitterbugging, that's good.
Yeah, well, there's, when it comes to anxiety, there's a lot of people who have theorized on this, but I think the one that makes sense the most is we're not out in nature like we're supposed to, and we're very boxed in, especially when we're indoors. There's all these walls around us, and it's a really weird feeling, because why should we feel anxious about that? We're safe and comfortable, but there's just something eerie about it. Like deep down, this is not right. I'm supposed to be outside. You know what I mean?
With the animals.
With the animals.
I know when we lived on 20 acres up in Mariposa County, we were maybe 30 miles outside of Yosemite, which was gorgeous. It was 3,000-foot elevation. And it just felt right.
Especially when you would come home and see deer, a mama deer and baby deer sitting, waiting to greet you,
Or the skunk that used to come and drink out of the fountain outside on our patio. And that skunk was very haughty and sure of himself. And the dogs didn't dare bark. So
yeah, because they were scared shitless. They're like, "Oh God, this guy's gonna spray me."
Remember Buster?
Knew, yes.
Remember when Buster got sprayed in Costa Mesa? Skunk in our backyard.
That was my fault. Wow,
man.
He was barking and growling at the door. I'm like, "Oh my God, he needs to pee badly." And so I open the door, and he goes, "Rah!" and then it's just silence, and I'm like, what just happened? And he comes stumbling in the house with this, like, you could kind of see it. There was like green stuff on his face, like,
that's
you know what I mean? Like the skunk
was...
spray. And he's come stumbling in. He's blind temporarily, and he's
it took us so long to get that smell out of the house.
That was nasty.
Oh my! I still kind of have it on some of the leather jackets.
Really? It still lingers. You can't get rid of that. The skunk stays with you.
But that's a thing. Like when I went on the hikes before I broke my fist, I went on hikes like very early in the morning, every morning. And you kind of get up there in nature, and there's this realization where, like, oh, you're tiny as fuck. You know what I mean? Why the hell should you care? It's kind of like going through a let go shower. Like you get in the shower or something, which is nature, and you're kind of stripped away from what is. And you start to realize, like, what you thought is not what it is. What it is where you are now, which is out in nature, looking at the mourning dove or something. You know what I mean? And so I think when we talk about anxiety, it's really get out in nature.
Get outside. Maybe that's why Tony Robbins says go outside. Yeah. Get out. Be in nature.
Perspective. Get a different perspective.
Right, a different perspective, because you could start dancing or doing jumping jacks or push-ups in the house, but maybe you do need that change of scenery, right? Like I know that when I used to feel like so much anxiety and so much stress, I would be like, I just need to get away for the weekend, you know? I remember when I was in New Mexico and you would tell me, go to Santa Fe for the weekend, right? Go to Santa Fe and see all the architecture, um, because
I was thinking more of the art objects, the beautiful creations.
I think you were thinking about the architecture. Anyway, the beauty, the beauty. There was art objects to beauty. There's lots of beauty there, right? But it was about getting out of where I was and going somewhere else for the aesthetic experience, because that maybe changes perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what I was thinking of was not so much the architecture as the beautiful creations of American Indian jewelry in the stores.
You wanted me to go shopping.
No, it's not no. It's not a question of
Just
shopping.
kidding.
I loved to stagger around the square, having one aesthetic experience after another. Just window shopping, just looking at the gorgeous things that human beings had created.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And that gives you a different perspective and takes you outside of your whatever is making you anxious, right? And which I wonder if it's similar when you go into nature, you're just looking at all the beauty around you because it's magnificent. Trees and flowers and water and sky and animals, and you think, whoa. And
Yeah.
maybe that's, it's just this aha moment of I am merely a speck in this universe.
Well, it's really interesting because when you're in the neighborhood or the city, there's not a lot of life. Even though there's people in cars driving and walking, you don't see a dynamic of life. It's everybody's selfish. They may not say it, but they're all selfish. And so you see a lot of people going about their business, like in New York or something. But when you go in nature, everything's working together, The dust, the bees, the flowers, it's all working together. And if you just kind of let go, you can kind of see it all.
And it feels selfless.
Yeah,
right?
Selfless.
Nature is working in a selfless capacity versus a selfish one that humans work. And just like when we have animals, well, I don't know about cats, but dogs, right? Dogs are very selfless. Like they just love you no matter what. They just love you, right?
And
everybody
that's the
jokes
concept.
about cats don't need you, but
that's the concept of detaching from yourself. It's a selflessness. It's a selfless act. You're not as important as you think you are. You know what I mean? You detach from yourself. If that makes sense.
It does.
Cats can be very loving.
Oh, well, yes, I know.
There's a cat in Alabama. His name is Buddy, and he loves me very much.
He loves you, yeah. So he's selfless when he gives.
When he wants to be, though.
And purrs.
Well,
maybe they're more like humans, right?
Yeah,
cats.
He's very sweet.
They're more human, apparently.
They can pick and choose.
Maybe I need a cat.
Cats
so
are
I can
interesting.
Study them more.
They're very weird, though. Like, the dog just loves you unconditionally, but the cat's like has a mind of its own.
There's
it's
condition
like
put on that love.
I'll love you when I feel like loving you, but right now I need some self-love.
Although some people speak about their cats acting like dogs, like following them around their apartments and things like that, which I find interesting. So I want one of those kind of cats because I loved having Buster follow me around, and Snowy would follow me around. Lily not so much, but I loved having those type of
the companion
dogs that just would follow me around. My little lambs, following me around. I loved that. Yeah,
Mary and the little lamb. So when we're talking about letting go is an art,
Mm.
how does it play into being an art? Because it's something you have to practice, I'd say, for many people. For others, it's it's different.
Well, I think in terms of when you put the word art, right? What is artistic? I think in terms of that, right? So, musicians creating music, that is a process of letting go, right? They have to just immerse themselves in the music. Um, Artists creating a sculpture or a painting or what have you, they are also letting go, right? There's a letting go of ego as well in order to create something and transform something, a canvas or a piece of clay, or put instruments together to create something, co-create, right? And that's an act of letting go. And then I think in terms of what are tangible things, if you don't have time every day to paint or to create music or play music, right? What are some ways in which people can let go on a daily basis? And one thing that has always been suggested is journaling, right? So,
Oh yeah. Who was it that said when you journal, it's like the paper's more patient, and
really?
you're sort of like getting it out to the paper instead of a therapist? I forgot who said that. Like Emily Dickinson or somebody, or Anne Bradstreet, somebody like that.
Somebody
a
real
woman.
famous like that.
Yeah, famous woman.
Well, I mean, and it's about, so there are many people that recommend doing that. That it's an act of sort of letting go of all of your fears, your anxiety, and they recommend doing it in the morning. You know, when you first wake up, just start to write. It could just be I'm feeling really upset today, or I'm feeling happy, or this is stupid, or what have you.
Stupid.
Right? But the act of journaling sort of allows you to just sort of let it all go, so you can then participate in the world without having all that anxiety with you. Right? You put it on a piece of paper.
Okay, so you have a lot of experience writing and
Yes.
journaling, but you also have a lot of experience as a musician.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking, I was married to a musician for almost 53 years. I noticed a few times that when he was in rehearsal, sometimes his performances were more perfect than when he was on the stage. Now, if he was relating well to the audience on stage, then his performances could be great. But if he had a tug of war between him and another musician on stage, sometimes the performance was not quite as strong. And I found that always very interesting, because at that point, he was not able to let go and just do.
Yes.
He was mad.
Yeah.
He was angry.
Right. Another emotion had come into play there.
Well, and then also you can, if you're performing, right, all of a sudden, you can also be aware that the audience is there, right? Sometimes if you can go into sort of a meditative state, then you're not even aware that they're there. And that can create perfection in music that may not be there if you are aware, right? It's almost like if you're walking and you feel embarrassed, and people are watching you, and then you trip, It's the same type of thing. And you're like, because you just became aware that somebody was watching you and you got all flustered or what have you. It's the same type of thing when you're performing. That's why when you're, let's say, acting on stage, they talk about having the fourth wall, or that invisible wall between you and the audience, and that is helpful in if you don't notice them, right, in being in character, and the moment you notice them, it can, oh, wow, I'm up here on stage, rather than being that character on the stage, right?
But you still have to play to the audience, and how do
Yeah,
you
you
do
do.
that if you have that fourth wall there?
Yes. Well, sometimes the fourth wall can be broken, as in Puck in A Midsummer Night's Dream speaks directly to the audience, right? So that's a very deep question, Barbara.
Thank you, Summer. And we have with us one of the leading interpreters of Puck.
I'm a typecast.
Devin played Puck at age 9 in an
Yes.
all-school production of A Midsummer Night's Dream. We were very proud of him.
Yes.
And
that was fun.
when you were talking directly to the audience, that was really quite marvelous.
Yeah, I played Puck, Pied Piper, and Yakimo, all very mischievous characters.
Yes.
Based on Mr. Mischief, yes.
Right. But that whole idea of speaking, I mean, you know how they say if you're making a speech to an audience and you're nervous, right? There's all sorts of exercises you can do in which to keep you from getting nervous, right? So I wonder if when you do break that fourth wall, if it's just you're in character and you don't really see them. I mean, the thing is, when you are on a stage and there's lights in your eyes, you can't see them anyway.
Yeah, you can't see
you
them.
You really can't see them. So maybe that's why they do that, because it is tough to see. I mean, as you know, when you've emceed so much and had lights.
Oh yeah, I'd always comment on the lights. I'm like, oh my god, am I the only one sweating? Jesus
I can't see anything.
What the hell?
Yeah, you can't see anything.
Game trash.
Yeah, but you do have to. I mean, I think you let go of ego, right? In terms of acting or being a musician or creating a piece of art, you are letting go of that ego so that you can perform and create for others to enjoy, to create beauty.
You're saying, so you're sincere rather than cute.
Yes.
Well, I'm cute. Anyways, so you're saying art is a letting go of the ego.
Yes.
Okay, so that's interesting because martial arts, right? We saw the game yesterday.
Yes.
And it was very respectful, and there was no ego in play, which I thought was very interesting.
I couldn't tell.
You couldn't tell?
Yeah, how can you tell? I mean, they, want to win.
They want to win, of course, but
is that ego? I don't know.
There was no
Oh, I see. They were very respectful of one another, right?
Yeah.
So the loser and the winner would be so respectful afterwards. It was beautiful to see, right? They would hug each other, shake hands. Even the two,
in the
Khabib
championship fight,
right? They exchanged T-shirts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and he said,
so
I'm gonna sell this T-shirt and give to his charity in Uganda.
Wow.
And so there was no
like the T-shirts had the name of their opponent on, right? That's
yeah, and they were gonna sell those T-shirts because they both wore it, and they're like, we can make a lot of money. And so Khabib is going to send the money that he sold from the T-shirt to Dustin's charity in Uganda, which helps with the water crisis, I think. But yeah, there was no ego involved really. And then there's also the thing with a lot of fighters, especially the jiu-jitsu artists, Brazilian jiu-jitsu artists, they don't have ego. Like, these guys are very kind and, because maybe they've been beat a lot, and like when you've been beat a lot, it's like, oh, I'm not the best,
Yeah.
But then I think about Muhammad Ali going, I'm the greatest, you know what I mean?
He was amazing. Yeah.
But that wasn't ego either, really. He was trying to hype up the crowd. He was playing a character. Yeah. It didn't come across as, you asshole. It came across as confidence.
Yes, he was great. He was the greatest.
Yeah.
Yeah, I loved watching him.
He really knew how to
Mm-hmm.
hype up the crowd.
When we were watching the fight yesterday, I kept reminiscing about watching Ali with my father, and it was strange. Now, as you know, I kept complaining of all the wrestling. I was like, I want to see kicks and punches, and the wrestling thing was annoying me. And I don't know why that is. I mean, I know it's MMA, and so they're gonna do some wrestling, but maybe it wasn't as much action, or I didn't like seeing people pinned down. I want to see people kicking and punching. Let's just see kicking and punching. Why do you need to try to pin each other down and keep each other from
I think if you're not a
moving.
wrestler or
I think I just didn't like that, because then they would punch them. Like, I'm keeping you down and I'm punching you. I didn't like that. I didn't think that was. I think it had to do with fairness for me. Like, that's not fair. Like, everybody stand up and fight like two people should fight. Like, stop.
Fight like a man.
Fight like a man.
Well, I mean, that's what I was thinking.
Damn it.
Just seemed so, like, I don't know. Anyway, but that's my opinion.
I think you have to, you have to be a grappler to appreciate, because they were using techniques that I wasn't aware of, because I'm not.
Right. But I mean,
I'm not in that world yet.
Right, but I mean, I could understand that intellectually, but I had feelings of, this is boring. I don't like you guys wrestling on the ground, and stop holding this person down and then punching them. That seems so mean-spirited to me, right? Like, I liked it when both people were standing up and fighting. And maybe that's because I grew up watching boxing.
Yeah.
And so I preferred that, and then add a little bit of kicks, so it's like the taekwondo, that I used to take when I was younger.
Well, I think if those fights were just played out like MMA, they would end up on the ground. Because you see in boxing, they're like punching each other, and then they're hugging each other. You know what I mean?
Right.
They're grappling each other, and then the ref has to separate them, and then they
Yes.
punch, and then they
That's
punch,
a
and
good
then they
point.
punch, and then they grab each other again.
Well, maybe I've evolved
Maybe.
from that.
Maybe.
I
But
don't like people wrestling. I
but
don't know.
then there's martial artists saying that street fights will end up on the ground eventually. So you should know how to fight on the ground,
Sure.
right?
Okay.
So when you add that in, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, wrestling, all the other ones that aren't as big, it's kind of controversial of me saying. I shouldn't say that. It's okay.
Yeah,
I'm just
maybe you
being funny.
You are being funny.
Yeah.
That's true.
But anyways, when you combine that in, you get the techniques of people wanting to fight on the ground, like Khabib. He like lunges at you like a bear. He just lunges, takes you on the ground, and then he just beats you.
You
boom,
said
boom,
he
boom.
used to wrestle bears.
Yeah,
when he was
little.
a kid. When he was a kid,
Yeah.
they had him wrestling bears. Now, were they doing that on purpose? Like, what's the deal with that?
His father wanted to test his character.
So
It wasn't practice necessarily. It was like his character as
His
a father.
father was the older
person.
man who appeared to be coaching him.
Yes, he was with him.
He wasn't coaching him.
But he was there.
He was there.
Providing emotional
He had gray hair.
support. Yeah. Yeah, he was there on his team. Now, why you had mentioned something about Habib being from, what did you say, Dagestan, and didn't you say something last night about them being like warriors or something
being
like
a
that?
warrior culture, kind of like everybody. Like the sports there is fighting.
Right. It's all like the okay. So So MMA is. I mean, there were a few that we saw last night that were from there, right?
Yeah, because they were on his team.
Oh, okay, they're on his team.
I think.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I looked up Dagestan while we were at dinner and watching the fight, and when I gave a list of famous people from Dagestan, the majority of them were in MMA or related.
So it's big
martial
there.
arts.
It's big there, and
Martial
especially
arts is big. Okay.
like wrestling, which Jake knew more of wrestling than I did. I was more like kicks because I took Taekwondo, and
Right.
stuff. So yeah, it's back to letting go. When you're a fighter, I think, and you're in martial arts, there's a lot of like, if you were so attached to your ego and you lost one fight, that was it. But these fighters have lost so many fights. Like when they were amateurs in the beginning, they were probably losing fight after fight after fight, and you don't see that. But that's how it was.
Well, and letting go of ego is really letting go of perfectionism, or the perception of perfectionism, the perception that anybody can be perfect, because I don't think humans are flawed, right? So I don't think anybody can experience perfection.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't let go of the notion of perfectionism, you'll never get anything done.
True.
Because it impedes progress.
Right. Like you write a story and, you need to let it go. You need to, or you have to write a paper as a student. You need to turn that in.
You got to turn that in. Right. And if you get a D on it, well, shit. You know what I mean?
Rewrite it.
Rewrite
Get the feedback and rewrite it.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of very intelligent students who don't turn in their homework, even though they've done it, because they can't part with it.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I've been like that. I've always been able to take criticism, though. Like, I just don't really care. Like, criticize me, fine. But, like, there's a sense of, you criticize me, say I need to change this, and this, but you weren't in my thought process. You know what I mean? You don't know how I was thinking, I guess.
Writing is a skill, so you do have to learn how to write well. So that people understand your thoughts and your logic. And it's a skill that you have to practice. It's like playing music. It's like creating art. It's like being able to provide a business report or any type of report in a job. It's a skill that you learn. You can't, just as being an MMA fighter, right? That is a skill. They built up those skills. They trained hard, and they still are evolving and learning from every fight that they win and lose, right? So
yeah, and I was thinking back to how journaling is a letting go, and I thought about Marcus Aurelius and his book Meditations. Meditations was just him journaling, because he was really the loneliest man. You know, he was just this dictator that was a good person, and he was just like lonely because he could do whatever the hell he wanted to, and he just kind of journaled, and that probably helped like let go. You know what I mean? He let go
of your thoughts, right?
Put it on paper, and now we get to read it. But he was really just letting go. Right?
Yeah, letting go is such a difficult concept, I think. Everybody seems to have a difficult time with this. And I think in terms of when you let go, when you are able to let go, and practice this on a daily basis and a moment by moment basis of letting go, then you're practicing nirvana or Buddhahood or the Christ way of being, right? You're experiencing this highest state, almost at perfectionism, what we might think as humans is perfect, right? And so if we were able to all let go on a moment by moment basis, how much happier might the world be? Right?
Right.
Because really, if humans are happier, then I think we wouldn't have as many problems in the world. We would create more peace in the environment, people wouldn't have worries about money. People wouldn't be driving fast to get to work and then getting angry when somebody cuts them off or doesn't cut them off. It's their perception that somebody's cutting them off, right? And so I think that that's a part of what letting go and the practice and understanding that you're practicing letting go, how that can impact our world. So it's it's bigger than just this, oh, I'm just going to learn to let go of things for selfish reasons. It's bigger. It's outside of ourselves.
It's selfless. Letting go is fundamentally selfless.
A selfless
and that's
act,
what you have to understand.
Because it affects everything.
Well, your father explained to me once when I noted that about age 60, his driving had improved considerably.
Yeah, right. No.
He had stopped tailgating.
He did get better. That's true.
And he had stopped trying to pass people constantly. And I said, what happened? And he said, well, when I was young, I could not forgive myself if someone got in front of me.
Bitch!
And now I don't care. It's all right.
It's okay.
And how much safer we all were.
Right.
Because he
let that go.
Yeah.
And that was all about ego, right?
Yeah.
It was all about, like, I have this masculine energy and I've got to, I can't let that other male
Those
get in
big
front
old
of me.
trucks.
Right? Yeah. Right.
With the LED lights when
Right.
they're driving.
Yeah.
Jesus.
I mean, it's the same thing. Maybe in a grocery store, people,
I
might
hate grocery stores.
Get upset if somebody gets in front of them in the lane, or they're like,
I
"Oh,
know.
I've got to get into that lane before they do." And
It's like,
I
chill
participate
out.
in that. I mean, I
my
can be honest enough to say I've probably done that before. I've got to get into the restaurant. Look, those people are coming quickly. Run in. We got to get a table before they do. And how much more beautiful would it be if we weren't doing that? Or we didn't get angry when you hold a door open for someone and they don't say thank you. Maybe they're like in their thoughts and they don't even notice.
They didn't even
let
notice.
it go.
Yeah.
Like, you did it. Did you do it to have somebody tell you thank you, or are you doing it because it's a selfless act and it's nice to do for people?
Yeah.
Just do that just for you. Don't get so upset if somebody doesn't say thank you. And I've gotten upset when people don't say thank you. So this is self-talk as well. Like, I need to remind myself constantly that when I open the door for people, I'm doing it out of the goodness of my heart, and I should not expect a thank you in return. And if I get one, that's lovely,
Yeah, helping others helps you. I was going to say something and I forgot.
About letting go.
Yeah, it was about letting go.
About the grocery store?
It might have been. It might have been.
You said, I hate grocery stores.
I hate grocery stores.
That's what you said. So,
yeah, especially when somebody cuts me off in the ice cream section.
Let that go. Let that go, Devin.
God.
That mint chip.
Let it go. There's another mint chip.
Oh my
There
God.
is mint chip.
But it was the last one. It was the last one.
Then you weren't supposed to have
No,
that.
I'd go Khabib on their ass. I'd go, bomb, give me that shit.
Hey.
Whoa.
You've been cursing a lot today. What's up with that?
I like cursing.
Yeah.
Let it go.
Let it go. Let it go.
Let
Devin.
the ice cream go.
Let the ice cream go. Let those words go.
Let the
Just
cursing
let it all
go. The feelings.
That's
let
right.
it go.
It's all good.
Let it go.
It's
It's
all
all good. Well, okay. I didn't remember what I was gonna say, but I thought of something else. There's what is he? I don't even know what he is. Elliot Holes. He's like he's a guy. But he has like what is it called? Oh my God. I'm brain dead. It's like this energy thing with your body that you do, and he kind of coaches people in
Dealing
like
with the chakras?
No, it was like you move your body in a certain way and you scream out that you're letting it go. You know what I mean?
The primal scream.
Yeah, like primal sort of stuff, or just being like a baby and just like whining, in the room alone, you're just letting all that out, you know?
Yes.
And a lot of people don't do that because
Mhm.
they've been conditioned into you have to act a certain way, super rigid, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
But yeah, he kind of like he does. I don't think he still does that. Maybe he does classes, but he like that's how he got really popular. It's like it was like
Mhm.
called like bioenergetics or something.
Mhm.
Really interesting. But I did think of the other thing I was gonna say, and
Mhm.
that is being at nirvana or enlightenment is fucking terrifying.
That's the way I
Mm.
feel.
It's terrifying because when you're at that state and you kind of open your third eye,
Mhm.
then you see everything else and you're like, oh, everybody else is negative, everybody else is selfish, and you kind of become nihilistic.
Oh, I see.
Like,
Mhm.
Yeah,
think of,
that's probably we're probably not giving a correct interpretation, but that's the part that worries me.
well, yeah, think of the Buddha, for
Mhm.
example. He kind of opened up his eyes and saw all this.
Suffering. He
Yeah.
saw the suffering.
And then he went to the monks.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like, he left. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah, he left all
his eye
his
opened.
wealth.
Same
Exactly.
thing with Jesus. He
Mhm.
left the city because his
Mhm.
eye opened up. He saw all the shit everybody was worrying about and realized it was trivial. It was
Mhm.
completely trivial.
Right. Yeah, they definitely practice the art of letting go.
Yeah.
And then they taught everybody to do that, but um I think because we have become so into this industrialized nation of ours, right? And world, right? Everything's global now. Information is so easy to obtain via the internet now that I think we're just sitting with so much, right? And then we're having a difficult time seeing that all of this is just nothing. Like
Yeah.
it can all go in like each second at any moment it could all be gone,
Yeah.
right? And the terrifying part, maybe that is related to death, because you said that, once you open that third eye, once you are in a state of enlightenment, you see things and you see reality for where what it is. Ignorance is definitely bliss at that point because you're seeing things, right? You have experienced this sort of enlightened way of seeing things, and in a way that's almost like a death and rebirth in and of itself, right? Because you've just um, um, gotten rid of some ego, and now you are becoming born into a new way of seeing
Yeah.
things,
You
right?
see the matrix. You just see
Exactly.
right through it.
And then it's like, oh no,
Yeah.
now what do I do? Because you really see all the
Yeah.
suffering.
And I think people hit those states, but they don't hit them for as long as Jesus or the Buddha, right?
Right.
Like you hit that state and you're like where you like let go,
Mm-hmm.
maybe the beginning of the day.
And then you go, oh, I don't like this. I want
Yeah,
to go
and then
back
you
in.
well
Go
then
back
you
into
like
that
look
ego.
at everybody and you're like, what the hell are you arguing about? Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
You're on a different frequency,
Right.
a
Like
different vibration.
when I was at the airport at LAX, and that's right, I was in a different vibration. I just sat down, I watched the Matrix. I watched all the tornado happening around me,
Yeah, it's really interesting, but then it's
Mhm.
like, do I want that all the time?
Right.
And that's what's scary. Because
And
then
that's
you
what's scary.
become somebody
Yeah.
like Jesus or the Buddha,
Right.
and you get crucified.
And you're totally underqualified. I mean, that's the way
Yeah,
I
Then you
feel.
got to
exactly.
teach everybody.
Then you gotta teach everybody. And it's like,
And then you're
ah,
like, how do I teach
shit.
you? How do I teach you?
I think
Ah!
we need counseling on this one. So,
Yeah. Well, but I think that you can have moments of enlightenment, but there are times in which you need to, for, you know, I mean, to protect yourself from all of that, right? You
Yeah.
need to just turn it off if you can. But then what ends up happening is that that's when you can be in an anxious state, right? You're opening yourself up to that anxiety again, which nobody likes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Nobody enjoys anxiety. I don't know one person that enjoys being anxious or enjoys being fearful or enjoys being sad or angry, right? Nobody enjoys that. People prefer to be happy, right? But being happy is a practice, and it's something that you practice to experience. That you need to find a way in which you can achieve happiness moment by moment, right? And that's a whole other thing that is for another topic. How do we achieve
happiness is fulfillment.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, I think we're gonna let go of this episode.
Yes. Let it go.
Let it go.
Where it's been. Let it go. Let it go. Let it go.
Okay, we don't want to sing that song. Lots of people don't want to hear Frozen right now.
Wait, was that Frozen? Was I singing Frozen? No, I was
you
singing
were
Let It
starting
Shine.
to, and then it went to some other non-Frozen.
Wait, what is Frozen? Do they say Let It Go?
They sing a song, Let It Go. Yeah.
They do?
Yeah, in the movie Frozen.
I don't even remember.
We're going to let that go.
All I
and not
remember is the
discuss it.
snowman.
I have to cook dinner.
Okay.
Okay, we're letting this
hungry.
episode go.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
This has been really fun.
Yes.
I am fulfilled
Good.
for the day.
Mm-hmm.
And we're the
Bayat
Beat.
Beat.
Good night, Arnold.
Good night.
And Buddy.
ولا ويلي ويلا 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 ولا ويلي ويلا